Oh god, man, that book, I don't even know where to begin with. Hi guys and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Chamber of Pops. I'm your host V, and today we're doing another deep dive into Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I've read these books about a billion times at this point, and I love all the Harry Potter books. Prisoner of Azkaban is no exception. It's one of my favorite books in the series. But this book is also the most confusing book in the series to understand. Like, so much goes on that you have to really pay attention to understand it. So before we dive into this deep dive discussion video, I'm going to give one thing. This is a spoiler discussion. If you have not read any of the three Harry Potter books yet, do not read this book. If you're in the middle of one of the first three Harry Potter books, please don't watch this video yet. And if you just don't care, hey, be free to watch this review. And yeah, it's all good for me. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, okay, well, where to begin? There was a lot. I'm not even lying when I said I have 4 pages, double-sided. Now, I had 2 full pages, but they're double-sided, but basically, yeah, 4 pages of a discussion that we have to talk about. Okay. So, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Let's dive into it. Okay. I'm just I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know. So, I'm just going to go from beginning to end and hope to get this all worked through. And I will be referring to my notes. I have my pen here because I have to refer to my notes with ticks so I can stay focused because I'm hoping to get this done under Harry blows up his aunt, doesn't blow up. Basically, Harry turns his aunt Marge, who is being terrible to him. He basically turns her into a giant balloon. Harry goes on the night bus. He meets the Minister for Magic, Cornelius Fudge. He stays at the Leaky Cauldron for the rest of the summer. Arthur Weasley tells Harry that there is a mass murderer who escaped from Azkaban named Sirius Black, who was literally specifically after Harry. But that's not Harry's biggest worry. Harry's biggest worry is because all third years are allowed into Hogsmeade. Harry's trying to get into Hogsmeade, but we're going to get back to that Hogsmeade thing in a bit. Harry's on a train, talking and hanging out with Ron and Hermione. He sees a Dementor, and he faints. And he also meets the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Professor Lupin. Hagrid is Care of Magical Cares teacher. Professor Trione, who is the divination teacher, says to Harry, as no surprising, he's going to die. Now, let's go back to the discussion about Hagrid being the Care of Magical Cares teacher. So we all know Hagrid loves creatures, including the big monstrous ones that we probably don't know there is. And we all know who really doesn't like Hagrid and who we haven't mentioned this far into the book, into this video, Draco Malfoy, our least favorite Hogwarts character. Our least favorite character in the Harry Potter books. Draco decides, how can I mess with Hagrid so badly it can get Hagrid thrown out. So Hagrid decides, I'm going to bring hippogriffs. Hippogriffs they're like half horse, half bird type animals. Like, they literally can fly. And they're very, I even forgot to put this in my notes. They're just super full of themselves is the word. And they don't like to be, they get upset hippogriffs get upset if you were to say anything mean to them. So Draco decides, I'm not going to listen to this Defense Against the Dark. No, I'm not gonna listen. I can't talk today. Can't talk. I'm gonna not listen to Hagrid's Care of Magical Cares lesson. Instead, I'm gonna disturb it. He decides I'm not even gonna listen to this lesson. And what does happen? He starts making fun and being mean to the hippogriffs. The hippogriffs attack Draco, and he gets like a small, maybe, scratch on his arm. Of course. Now, this is the perfect opportunity to try for Draco to get Hagrid thrown out, or even better, get the hippogriff killed. So, yeah. So, Draco's like the biggest idiot in this book. And I'm not going to say what it is yet. But something very satisfying happens in this book to Draco. And I don't know how this didn't happen 2 books earlier. So, yeah, Hermione has a secret in this book. And because these books are so self-aware, basically, Hermione is taking a bunch of classes. And they literally say, how the hell are you going to make 3 classes at once and be in 3 places at once? And Hermione's like, oh, I'll manage. So Ron is like really suspicious of Hermione. So Harry is in his first Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson. Lupin doesn't want him to face the Boggart, which is basically a thing that turns into something that you're scared of when it greets you. So the thing that you fear. Well, yeah, we'll come back to, so Harry's turns into, so Harry doesn't get to do it. And then he goes up to Lupin at one point and says, why didn't you let me face the Boggart? And Lupin's like, oh, I was worried, I didn't want the Boggart to turn into Lord Voldemort, and I didn't want to give the class a fear with that, so basically I didn't let you do it. And he's like, it wasn't going to turn into Lord Voldemort. It was actually going to turn into the Mentor. So it was like, so the thing you fear is fear itself. Yeah. So yeah, so that's basically the rundown of the first little bit of the book. Harry is trying to get into Hogsmeade. Uh, I'm just going through my notes because, again, I have to go through these notes. Yeah, so then Sirius Black. Okay, so Sirius Black is on the loose. He's been spotted and he's trying to get to Hogwarts, okay? Well, Sirius Black. Oh boy. So the way you get into the Gryffindor common room is through a portrait. And you have to say the portrait has a password. And you have to say the password to the portrait if it's there to get in. Sirius Black decides to attack the portrait trying to get in. So Dumbledore then makes the whole school sleep in the Great Hall. And then halfway through, Harry, Ron, and Hermione hear a conversation between Snape and Dumbledore, and they're pretending to be asleep, in which Snape claims to Dumbledore that Sirius is having help getting into the school. And because I have notes, I have to actually literally keep on to them. I have to literally make full-on notes. Like, I can't even do my half-past notes because, yeah. And after this attack, everyone decides to keep an eye on Harry. Harry literally needs a teacher to go with him to Quidditch practices and classes, and Harry's like, oh, I'm noticing all this. And he's like, this is going to make trying to get into Hogsmeade even more impossible. Snape, oh my god. Snape in this book, Snape literally calls Hermione a know-it-all. And and he does this because he's subbing as a defense against the dark arts teacher while Lupin is sick. The Dementors show up at the first Quidditch game and attack Harry. Harry hears the voice of his dead mother moments before she dies. He wakes up, he's in the hospital wing. He finds out that his Nimbus 2000 got blown into the Whomping Willow. Is that crazy tree from the second book slash movie, second book, and it literally smashed. And yeah, Gryffindor lost the match. And yeah, Harry asks Lupin because again, Harry and Lupin's dynamic throughout this book was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it was absolutely brilliant to say the least. And I absolutely loved whenever there would be a conversation between Harry and Lupin. Anyways, Harry asks Lupin for help defeating the Dementors, defending against the Dementors. So he asks help to defend himself against the Dementors. And Lupin's like, yeah, I'll help you after Christmas. Fred and George give Harry a Marauders map. It's a map that looks like a plain piece of paper. I actually have. Oh my god, I totally forgot to grab it for this review. But I actually was gifted a Noble Collection movie replica of the Marauders map. I wanted to bring it out for this review. Maybe I'll bring it out for Goblet of Fire. I'll put in my notes to bring it out for the next one. But it's a really cool replica piece. Maybe I actually have a few photos of it on Instagram, so follow me on Instagram to see. Fred and George give Harry the Marauders map, and basically okay. I have so many notes and they're all scribbled in here somewhere. So yeah, and the way the map works, it was written by 4 people who assumably were past students named Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs. The way you would open this map is it would look like a normal piece of paper, but then when you would say the word and tap it, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good, you could literally open the map and it could give you like just how to get to every single secret entrance and wherever in Hogwarts. To close it, you would say Mischief Managed, and it shows you where and what everyone is doing. So Harry obviously uses the map, and we're going to come back to Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs in a minute. We're going to come back to them towards the end because there's something about them that's going to make a lot of things make sense. There's a lot going on in this book. I'm probably going to have to. I wonder how many pages I'm going to have to write with the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th. So yeah, so basically it's a map of Hogwarts. So Harry obviously uses it to do the obvious. He tries to use the map to get into Hogsmeade. When he's there, he finds out that Sirius Black was best friends with Harry's dad, and that Sirius Black is Harry's godfather, and that Sirius Black murdered a bunch, like, aside from the obvious that he murdered a bunch of people, he is literally, where was he again? Oh, did I forget to write that? Yeah, I literally forgot to where, but he's not the Leaky Cauldron. Was it Honeyducks? I can't remember. I'll put it in the future book. But anyways, so he's basically hearing all this from under a table, and he's hearing all this through a conversation between Hagrid, McGonagall, Flickwick, Fudge, and Rosmerta. So yeah, got all that. He finds out that Black murdered an old friend of he he basically that Black not only murdered a bunch of people, but that he sold out Harry's parents to Voldemort. Um, he killed another friend named Pettigrew. So James Potter had a bunch of friends. Another one of them being Pettigrew. Pettigrew, I guess, confronted Black. Um, and yeah, Black killed Pettigrew. Harry wants to kill Sirius Black. Um, and yeah, Buckbeak essentially, I'm just going to say this because I'm not going to mention anymore. There's a whole trial. Hermione was helping um, Hagrid with the entire trial, but basically Buckbeak is sentenced to death. And then Harry, it's Christmas, and Harry is given. So if I don't mention the rest of this about Buckbeak, that's only because I just mentioned it. There's a lot to cover with this book. I'm going to admit right now, there's a lot to cover. And I'm trying to keep these Harry Potter reviews under an hour long. And that's why I have to refer to the notes. Harry is given a firebolt, but he doesn't know who gave him the firebolt. And everyone's assuming it's Black. And Hermione basically goes and tells McGonagall. And McGonagall takes the firebolt away. And everyone is just so mad. Harry and Ron just refuse to talk to Hermione. Harry struggles to learn the Patronus charm. The charm is called Expecto. The Patronus charm. The wording for it is Expecto Patronum, and you have to basically conjure up the happiest of happiest memories to conjure a really powerful one. Harry struggles with it, and then along doing so on the Boggart Patronus, he starts hearing his dad moments before his dad died. Lupin reveals that he knew Harry's father and Sirius Black. Harry gets the firebolt, but he still doesn't know who sent it. He gets the firebolt back, but he still doesn't know who sent it. Harry and Ron talk to Hermione finally, because obviously after Harry's firebolt gets taken away, Harry and Ron decide, oh, we don't want to talk to Hermione. She's giving away our secrets. Why should we talk to her? And then they're finally about to talk to Hermione again, but then Ron finds out that someone killed his pet Scabbers, his pet rat Scabbers. He finds orange cat hair and he blames Hermione for it. Harry and Ron treat Hermione very poorly in this book, and I found myself really, really I really didn't like them in this book because of the way they were treating Hermione. Um yeah. Oh, and Draco. We have to talk about Draco again because he again decides to be really dumb. He decides, Harry really does fear Dementors. But one thing Draco doesn't know is that Harry's been taking anti-Dementor lessons. So Draco and his friends decide, let's pretend to be Dementors to scare Harry into Gryffindor losing the match. Well, Harry just pulls out his wand, thinking they're real Dementors, and casts the Patronus charm on them. And it turns out at the end of the match, it was just Draco and his friends pulling a joke on him. Harry tries to talk to Hermione. But he's, struggling to talk to Hermione really, and because Ron keeps still mentioning the fact that he blames her and her cat, and it makes Harry kind of feels guilty. It's like, okay, and Harry's just siding with Ron. Sirius Black tries to attack Ron, and of course Sirius Black tries to attack again, and he tries to attack Ron. Like, he literally gets into the Gryffindor common room and and pulls out a knife on Ron while Ron was sleeping, and Ron screams, and by that point, Sirius Black is gone. Well, how does Sirius Black get into the common room? Because, like I just mentioned, you need a password to get into the Gryffindor common room. Well, Neville has been writing down the passwords. And basically, Neville lost the passwords. And Neville loses the passwords. Okay? That makes complete sense. Okay? Neville loses the passwords because Neville always forgets things. And Sirius Black gets a hold of those passwords and tries to go in. And it's revealed that, I guess, well, everyone's put up to the assumption that he got Ron's bed, but he was actually going after Harry's bed. Anyways, things are horrible for Neville at this point. Everyone's so mad at him, and he has all these punishments. So then Hagrid decides, you know what? I've had enough of Ron and Harry treating Hermione like crap. I'm going to have a talk with them. I'm going to have a talk with them about Hermione, friendship, and pets. That doesn't really go over that good. So Ron, because of course there was 2 attacks on Harry's life. And what does Ron do when the next Hogsmeade comes along? He's like, just get the invisibility cloak and come to Hogsmeade. Come on, there's so much you haven't done yet. And everyone's like, no, bad idea. Just horrible idea. And Hermione is literally threatening them, saying, I'm going to go. And Harry's like, you know, if you have that friend who hates you, come on, do this, come on. Yeah, this is Ron. And Ron's making these false judgment calls. And Harry decides, you know what, I'm going to go to Hogsmeade. And while in Hogsmeade, he gets into a fight with Draco, gets discovered by Snape, decides to fight Snape. Lupin has a stern talking to him that makes him think, man. And basically, he says something about how Harry should be ashamed of himself and be ashamed because, his parents gave up his lives for him. And this just makes Harry really sad. He doesn't even go back to try to get the invisibility cloak. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are talking again. And then we gotta mention Draco again. Because if anything could make it much more happier, it would be the fact that Hermione decides to slap Draco when finding out that. So we just talked about how Buckbeak's going to be executed and all that. Well, of course, Draco's making fun about it, and he's just being a big asshole. So what does Hermione do? She just goes there and she just slaps him right across the face. And she's like, you better beat him in Quidditch. Something like that. And Hermione also decides to quit divination because she's like, I'm sick and tired of all this guesswork and how there's no logic to this. And it's really just Hermione being at the end of her ropes. The Gryffindors win the Quidditch Cup. Professor Trione. Now, we haven't talked about Professor Trione in a few minutes. Well, Professor Trione makes a real prediction. And the prediction is that Voldemort and his servant are going to be reunited. And Hermione then decides to get Harry's invisibility cloak. And now this is where things get really confusing. Just really, really confusing. I'm hoping I'm making all this short. And yes, I have to constantly refer back to my notes. I normally don't do my reviews like this, but with this one, it was really hard. And just maybe start assuming this is going to be how I do the rest of my Harry Potter reviews. I'll have to find a better way so I can see all my notes better. I'll come up with a better way on doing that. But yeah, so she makes Professor Trelawney makes a real prediction. Um, Hermione gets the invisibility cloak, and they try to go and watch the execution. They find out Scabbers is alive, but Scabbers being a little bit panicky. And a big black dog comes and drags Ron into the Whomping Willow. Oh boy. Harry and Hermione decide to rescue. Well, they don't decide. They have to now go and rescue. Harry and Hermione now have to go rescue Ron from the big black dog. And then they found out that the big black dog was actually Sirius Black, and that Sirius Black is an animagus, I believe it is. Yeah, it's an animagus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Basically, it means that he can turn into a dog, and that he's unregistered. So yeah, and Ron and Hermione tried to help Harry stand up and fight Sirius Black. And then, to make things even better, Lupin comes in, hugs Sirius Black, and it's like a brotherly hug. Lupin tells Harry, Ron, and Hermione the truth. And also, it is also revealed that Lupin is a werewolf. Snape attacks Lupin in black. Harry, Ron, Hermione retaliate and attack Snape. So what actually happened? Now we have to go back. So it's revealed that Lupin was friends with Harry's dad, James Potter, okay? And this is where things get really confusing. And it was revealed that James had three friends. Lupin was one of them. Because Lupin, there was no cure for his werewolf thing or something to help make the transformations easy. When Lupin went to Hogwarts, they planted the Whomping Willow because of him. It was basically a scary ass tree that if you prodded a branch on the tree, you could get in. And basically, what was happening is eventually he was making friends, and every time when it was coming to the full moon and he had to transform, he would be escorted by a teacher into the Whomping Willow, into the Shrinking Shack, transform, and he would be locked in this until the full moon was done and his transformations were gone. And when we go back to the Marauders map, well, it reveals that James, Sirius, and Pettigrew found out about this. And instead of hating on Lupin, they wanted to help. So they basically spent years figuring out how to turn themselves into an animagus. And they basically, when they found out how to turn into these animals, they would go into animal form, sneak out, go into the animal form, and help Lupin. And these guys were going all around the school in animal forms, and nobody found out about it. So, and the reason why this connects to the Marauders map, now let's go back onto the Marauders map, because the reason why is it turns out that the Marauders map was created by Harry's dad, Lupin, Sirius, and Pettigrew. It turns out Moony was Professor Lupin, Wormtail was Peter Pettigrew, Padfoot was Sirius Black, and Prongs was James Potter, Harry's dad. And then on the night, it is revealed that actually Peter Pettigrew was still alive, and that he was Voldemort's true servant. and that basically Sirius conjured up a plan to, because he knew that someone was going to what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody was going to sell the Potters out to Dumbledore, and basically they came up with this genius plan to try and throw off uh, the. So basically, Sirius comes up with this plan to throw off the um, the spy, and Sirius at the time thought it was Lupin. Lupin thought it was Sirius. Dumbledore thought it was Sirius as well. Nobody expected it was Pettigrew, and Sirius found out that it was Pettigrew, and Sirius was trying to stop all of it from happening. And but he was too late. And basically, because it turns out James Potter, there was a spell casted that would hide them, that you could be literally inside their house and not know that they were there. And basically, you could entrust it to a person, and that person will then become the secret keeper of the house. Well, again, James Potter had wanted Sirius, obviously, to be the secret keeper. But Sirius comes up with, I guess, again, the plan to try to catch. Now, Sirius wanted to catch the person, so he volunteered not to be the secret keeper, and he recommended that Pettigrew be the secret keeper, and it turns out Pettigrew sold out the. I hope I'm making this makes sense to everyone right now. It really didn't make it's still really hard to make sense of. Anyway, so basically, the plan fails, and then Sirius goes after Pettigrew. Well, Pettigrew is one step ahead of Sirius. When Sirius went to confront Pettigrew for killing his best friend, he had his wand behind him, and he kills a bunch of people, blasts and kills over 3 streets of muggles, cuts off his hand, and has been living as a rat for 12 years with the Weasleys. So it's revealed that Pettigrew is alive, and that Sirius was actually framed for all the crimes, and then Sirius was never actually trying to kill Harry. Sirius was actually trying to kill Pettigrew. He found out that when he saw the photo in the Daily Prophet, when Sirius saw the photo of Ron's family in the Daily Prophet, he saw that Ron was holding his mouse Scabbers. He saw all the signs that it was Pettigrew. And that's why, so he breaks out of prison, goes to Hogwarts, and his real goal wasn't to ever hurt anybody else. It was to kill Pettigrew. And at one point, Sirius even says, I would have died to protect my friend. So yeah, anyways, Pettigrew escapes. Lupin turns into a werewolf. A mystery figure comes and casts a really strong Patronus Charms. And Snape manipulates the whole situation. So now things get even more confusing from here. Again, this book is really confusing and there's so much going on. I highly recommend everyone read it. Because again, I really liked Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban would be in my top 3 favorite Harry Potter books of all time. It's just really confusing. Like, you have to really read it yourself to really, understand. And I've seen other reviewers try to explain this. And it's really hard to explain and make it make sense. So basically, Dumbledore, then, it's revealed that Hermione has a time turner, which allows her to go back in time an hour, and that's how she's getting to all her lessons. So, to make things even more confusing, She would go to one lesson. At the end of that lesson, turn back time, go to another lesson, turn back time, and go to another lesson. So Dumbledore gives Harry and Hermione permission to go back in time, save Buckbeak from being executed, and set Sirius Black free. And they do that. And then it's also revealed that Harry was the one who casts that powerful Patronus, and his Patronus takes the form of a stag, which is Harry's dad, because his father's animal form was a stag, and Harry's Patronus takes the form of a stag. Harry gives Buckbeak to Sirius, and those two ride off and go into hiding. And yeah, basically it's revealed that Snape, because of Sirius Black escaping in retaliation, Snape tells everyone that Lupin is a werewolf. And now, in actuality, all the teachers knew Lupin was a werewolf, but they were to keep it from all the students. But anyways, so then Lupin decides to leave Hogwarts and find work somewhere else. Oh yeah, and so they finish off the school year, and Harry and Hermione and Ron get a letter from an owl, and they found out a few things. One, that Sirius gives Harry a signed permission form to go to Hogsmeade, and Harry is supposed to send this immediately to Dumbledore because Dumbledore helped, because Dumbledore believed that Sirius was also telling the truth, that Sirius was telling the truth, that he was an innocent man, and aside from the, and so Harry could give the signed permission form to Dumbledore and basically go to Hogsmeade. It was also revealed that Sirius was the one who bought Harry the firebolt. And it's also revealed that Sirius gives Ron a new owl, considering the other one comes about. Okay, so that was a lot. That was a lot, okay? Overall, what would I rate Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? A 10 out of 10, okay? It's actually a really entertaining book. It's a really confusing book. It has a lot going on. And it's actually a really good book. And again, some of this stuff is really confusing to explain, especially when you have to explain the Time Turner stuff and all that. I also have a replica Time Turner too. I should have brought that one out as well. I have so much replica merch just from Prisoner of Azkaban, it's unbelievable. Actually, Prisoner of Azkaban was the first movie I went to see. It was the first Harry Potter movie I went to see in theaters. I remember when the Harry Potter movies were coming out, I was able to rent them. Well, my older sister rented them at Blockbusters, and I would watch them. So I watched the first two on DVD, and my sister rented them from Blockbuster. But the first movie we ever went to go see, not the first movie we ever went to see in theaters, but we went to see the first Harry Potter movie I saw in theaters was Prisoner of Azkaban, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite Harry Potter films of all time. Is Prisoner of Azkaban. I thought the movie was excellent, but yeah, that was really long and really hard. Again, I'm excited to do this again next month with Goblet of Fire, but oh boy. That's going to be a hard one, too. I'm going to have to figure out how to get these ones better, but yeah, I'm just going to try my best and keep doing what I'm doing. Anyways, guys, let me know what are your thoughts on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban or any of the Harry Potter books. And I'll see you guys so this is April, so I'll see you guys in May for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, where we'll talk about Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Okay, bye, guys.